Hey, what's going on, guys? Indypride here with Milk and Cookies Total War.
And I am Oakley, and we're going to be continuing our series of 1v1s. On my channel, I already put up 2 battles. I don't know if Indy's put up any. But yeah, we're continuing the series.
And this was a 1v1 we played just the other day. I ended up bringing Parthia in this one, and Oakley's going to be Carthage, and I'll go over my build, and he can do the same over on his side. So I have 3 Mercenary Veteran Hoplites and 2 Persian Hoplites making up my infantry component. I have 5 Parthian Foot Archers, 5 Eastern Cataphracts, and a Royal Cataphract.
Yeah, and on my build, I think you had learned from your build where I was playing as Pontus. And I think you brought more heavy cataphracts. Because in that previous battle, I was able to slip through and just knock out your cav and get to your archers. But in this battle, I mean, you guys will see the playstyle. I would say you definitely learned from that last battle and were intent on keeping me from doing that. And
Yeah,
I
one
think,
of the... Sorry, you can go.
I was just saying, I think you were expecting me to bring elephants in this battle, probably.
No, I think elephants against Parthia are actually complete trash because they're so skirmishing dependent and so cavalry dependent that an elephant maybe not wouldn't work super well for you. But at the same time, if you're able to get like an elephant into one of my cataphract units, it might do
Right,
a
like
lot of
that could be
damage.
a
So
way to wrap up one flank. But in any case, my build is going to be in the front 3 of these mercenary Celtic light horse, and then on each side a companion kev. And my thinking on that is I wanted to capitalize on... I knew that you were going to be bringing a similar Parthia build to the one you had before. And
hmm
the way I beat you in that battle was basically getting into your back and just thrashing your archers before they could get enough kills. And that's what I was thinking with these Celtic Light Horse. I figured they were really quick and nimble, and I could just, tire out your cataphracts. And then my companions on the side were going to try and be the ones that could weather the storm of your cataphracts. Then my infantry corps is going to be 2 mercenary Cretan archers backed up by 1 Carthaginian hoplite, 3 of these Libyan infantry, 2 African pikemen, and a noble cav in the center, in the rear. And then on either flank of this sort of infantry block, I have Carthaginian hoplites. So you can see, I guess if you want to analyze the pre-battle deployment, like I said, I wanted to swarm around Indy and knock at his archers, and my own formation is formed up pretty deep because I didn't want to have too many troops exposed to bow fire at the start.
So do you want to press play on 3, 2, 1, press play? And we'll get into it. So yeah, one of the mistakes that I think we made in the first battle, and I'm not, I might end up uploading the first replay of our series when you were Pontus and I was Parthia. One thing that I did wrong in that battle, I think, was I only brought the 3 Royal Cataphracts, and I just didn't have enough cavalry to cover my lines very effectively, and I changed that in this battle. An Eastern Cataphract is straight up going to beat Mercenary Companion Cav or Mercenary Celtic Light Horse easily 1v1 in melee combat, so just bringing more cataphracts, but cheaper cataphracts was going to make it so it'd be a lot harder for you to try early cab action. And it was an interesting decision from you, and I'd like to hear what your... I know you wanted to get on my archers, but early cab action against Parthia generally is really hard to do because Parthia is generally going to have a pretty distinct cab advantage. So
hmm
I was wondering what you were like trying to accomplish with that.
My thinking for the Celtic Light Horse is I knew they were light horse and they had speed bonuses, so I figured I could dance around your cataphracts as much as possible and just get behind you, and by doing so I would be able to stop your forward momentum. If you're always thinking about a rear strike, I could keep your archers from pushing forward, I could keep your cataphracts from moving too far out, otherwise you would threaten the security of your flanks. And so I just wanted to get you in a position where I could really toy with you and sort of punish you for any small gaps that you created. But
hmm
you handled this really well. You just kept in a concise block and you pushed forward. And all you wanted to do was basically connect with my main front with your archers. And there's no way I can get a frontal assault on that with my build. So my build really relied on finding the chinks in your armor. If our main lines just strike at each other, I think you straight up win. Like, I just don't have the killing power in my archers to even face you. So what I start to do in the beginning is try and chip away at your main block in the center to try and somehow, punch more holes in your formation. But you're keeping a really tight-knit block and just forcing me back. And I'm starting to move some Carthaginian hoplites to the flanks to try and support. What I'm intending to do is pin down your cataphracts and then sweep in through the gaps. So you can see where my Celtic Light Horse is. They're both kind of moving in, and instead of you charging after them, you're pulling your cataphracts closer to the center. I think that's a really smart move. And
Yeah.
this is... Yeah, or go ahead.
It was interesting here because you took a fight here with Eastern Cataphracts with the Mercenary Companion Cav, and I mean, it's one of those things where I understand like you want to like get my cavalry tied down so you can start moving your infantry in and start skirmishing and stuff and get me like focused in many different angles. But the problem with it is that neither the Celtic Light Horse or the Mercenary Companions, because they don't have a bonus versus large, are going to be able to take a cataphract on head in melee. So especially after surrounding this one companion cav, that's just going to rout off the field in a couple of seconds, and that's what 1,200 talents. And it's going to end up getting, I think, 4 or 5 kills. So just with my cataphracts right here, I'm going to be able to wipe that out. And that's going to be a big blow to you because your cavalry is already hurting really bad at this point.
Yeah, you could just see what happened to my cav. Like, I decided I was just going to throw everything at you at once, and I was like, oh, I can handle this micro. It turns out once I started trying to micro, like, everything just went to shit. Like, none of my intercepting moves got where they needed to be. Only just now am I able to, like, shoot some of these gaps. But, like, you're just swatting me away at every point, and I sacrificed too much in that initial charge. I should have timed it better. I should have had those hoplites who are just now getting to the cataphract engagements. I should have waited for those guys to be there sooner, because then I could have blunted your charges, soaked it up with that, and then gotten that charge with the companions. I think I was just way too hasty trying to get in there, and at this point I was like, fuck it. I just gotta throw everything, because your center is all like, it's all messed up. So I'm like, oh, I'll capitalize on this. You guys are in
I got really disorganized right here, yeah.
So I was like, all right, I may have sacrificed a lot of cav. If I pull back now, you're going to reform, and I wasted them. So I think just my early mistakes forced me to just engage to an already poor position. And yeah, I just have to kind of stick to it. It's kind of the sunk cost fallacy. And you can see just where this leads you. Like, I'm microing elsewhere. You're going to charge into my Libyan infantry. They're going to go down to just drop precipitously, and my pikemen aren't in place, so it was just an overall really sloppy engagement once I got past that first stage.
Yeah, I think your point about the sunk cost is a really good one, actually. It's the basic idea behind it is that just because you've already committed a bunch of troops to a fight that you can't win doesn't mean you should throw even more good money after bad, basically. And I understand that thinking, and I've done the exact same thing, and a lot of players do, but it's one thing that's really important to remember in a game like this is not to do that, because, and I think that's a really good lesson for a lot of Total War players, is that just because you had one unit get thrown in poorly doesn't mean you should commit a bunch of units after it, so they'll die as well,
Yeah, and I think that's just like human nature. The sunk cost fallacy is something that gets gamblers all the time. It like works its way into life all the time. And for people who are aspiring to play better at Total War, it's something that, everyone is susceptible. Even though, I and Indy have logged a lot of hours into Total War in all the series and in Rome to itself, we'll still fall for it. So that's definitely one of the main things I would say you should learn to avoid, and be always thinking about, is it worth continuing to commit? Can I just cut back, and am I better off if I do that? So it's just running that analysis in your head all the time and not getting carried away that really defines, I think, the good players. And it's what leads to my loss right here, the fact that I was susceptible to that.
Yeah. So it was interesting here because my center is actually breaking. You said that you weren't sure if you had enough killing power to break through my hoplites, and you definitely do with the Libyan infantry. You're going to be able to cut through there. But the problem, of course, is that I have a bunch of my skirmishers that are they're not threatened by anything because all your cavalry is out the field, and my cataphracts are now around the flanks. They're getting in behind your troops, and I'm getting free charges into the backs of Libyan infantry and all your skirmish units. So as soon as I break this remaining cav unit right there and your mercenary Korean archers, I'm going to be able to well and truly surround you, because I do still have a couple of hoplites there that will be able to tie down your Libyan infantry. And then once the hammer and anvil start with the Eastern cataphracts, you're going to be a sad boy.
Yeah, and I mean, I think maybe my first error was my build. I don't think I was properly equipped to counter yours. But I think you also just really brought like a very good build. Basically what you have is an almost unbeatable cavalry force that can take a lot of punishment, and then your center is like kind of a thin wall in the front that can hold out long enough, and just massive killing power for the archers, and you can just move that whole block in just like a group tab and just move it up slowly, and unless the opponent has more archer fire than you, like I don't really see an effective way to counter that, especially with my build. I don't know. Do you think I could have won if I kept my cav uncommitted? I think you probably would have just kept your cataphracts next to your archers and just picked me away. And you would have taken out my archers and then moved on to my other units, and I don't know.
I would say from an army composition perspective that Parthia definitely has an advantage in this kind of engagement. I think that investing much less in cavalry and investing more in maybe pikes or heavy hoplites would have maybe changed things, because if you say bring like a couple Libyan infantry for cutting power to get through hoplites, and then like the rest have like actual late Carthaginian hoplites and African pikemen, and then like a big skirmish force, then you could maybe deal with my Parthian foot archers. And once you kill my skirmish advantage, then my cavalry kind of has to commit. And if you have a bunch of hoplites, there's not a lot for my cavalry to kill there. So I think there are definitely army setups with Carthage you could bring that would match up better than what you brought here.
Yeah.
But with that said, with the army setup you brought, I think it would have been a difficult fight from
Yeah,
the beginning.
it probably was not the best thought out build, and just the way each of us played our cards, I think you came out with just the better thinking before the battle even started. And I'm thinking about this, had I brought just all Carthaginian hoplites, like I think I could have just won. Like that sheer number of troops, I could have just run straight into your force, and I could have just beaten your inferior hoplites, kept some hoplites of my own in the back, and any cavalry charges you try and get in will just like sink into my rear guard, and I think that's probably the only way I could have beaten you, or at least the first thing that pops into my head.
Yeah, I do think that hoplite cores are a good way to win. I've honestly tried it against Seleucids and other cataphract factions like Parthia before, and it can work. But the thing about cataphracts is that if you don't have units in the back that are completely braced and ready for charges, it doesn't matter what kind of unit it is. If they are not facing the cataphracts, they get destroyed by rear charges. So you have to make sure that not all of your infantry gets tied down. If it does, the hammer and anvils are going to start happening, and there's just not a whole lot you can do about it.
And I'm gonna go to the stats chart, so you can see, yeah, my guys did not perform well, and you could even see early in the battle the Celtic light cav or light horse. Yeah, they in some of the engagements, I tried to like get really close to your cataphracts and pull back and just like tease with you. My reaction time and the reaction time of the unit and the AI itself just didn't let them get out in time, and you basically just ran over. Like 2 of those guys were lost, 0 kills in the blink of an eye. And even, yeah, like you were saying, that mercenary companion cav that took your cataphract straight on, that I just lost so many talents right there.
Yeah, it's 3 kills for 1,200 talents. So unless you're killing some kind of crazy hero unit, yeah, probably not worth the kills there. But it's one of those things that like the mercenary companion cav actually don't have a bonus versus cav or bonus versus large at all. So they are very much like the katana cav from Shogun 2
Okay.
or the
See,
Aspis companion cav.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't exactly sure. Like I'd heard companion cavs are beasts, but I never really go into the stats too much. So I figured, top tier cav, I can throw them against cataphracts. But if they do behave more like katana, then I should have saved them.
For the archers, or
Yeah.
for like you want to have like a shot cav unit, like a noble cav maybe to blunt the charge of a cataphract, and then have the mercenary companions come in from behind, because in melee combat they will do well. It's just on the charge they get absolutely hammered.
Yeah, and I'm looking at actually the infantry composition. I may have actually been able to just form up in a massive unit, Libyan infantry in the front, Carthaginian hoplites backing that up, and then pikemen to guard my rear. And I could have just pushed right into your formation, actually. So, we may have to redo this with the same army composition another time to test that theory, but I think that might have been a viable option. Like you said, just, take the fight.
Yeah, I think it would have been, if you don't get my archers, because again the Parthian foot archers have 40 weapon damage, so they're the most damaging archer units in the game besides Cretans. If you don't get those archers, your army will die, because focus firing with those, one volley from each one of my units is gonna take out one of yours.
So you think you could have targeted like the front of my
I could have just killed, like if your pikes are facing a different direction, then I'm just gonna hit them in the back, they're gonna die. The focus, you have to kill the
that's
skirmishers.
true.
If you don't get the skirmishers, that build's just straight up not gonna
Which
work.
is kind of what I was thinking, bringing
Yeah,
this
exactly,
Celtic
that's
light
yeah.
horse is like, I'll have to get his archers. But I think the way you defended them, it didn't take my bait and just stayed close and moved the whole thing up, was just, it was a good counter.
Yeah, I mean it happens, like honestly, and you beat me in the 2 battles before this, so it was it was a cathartic experience because I wanted to get my revenge for that. I wanted to get some
Right.
get some revenge, but yeah, I mean
I knew you were cooking something up after those 2 losses that I like served you up. I was like, all right, he's selecting Parthia. All right, here it comes, like a cataphract and a
try hard mode engage.
Right, yeah. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. I do like these dual analysis from like players who know what they're talking about, and like recent battles where we know the ins and outs of it and we can discuss possibilities. And I think it's a better way to convey, 2 different opinions, and then, give you guys lessons on how to improve, how we can improve. So if you guys like this format, we're planning on doing another one, so stay tuned for that. But in the future, if you want us to do more of these, just let us know.
or just tell me to kill myself if you hate me. It's fine
Right,
too.
right, right.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you all later.
Yeah, see you guys.
See you guys.